Today we're breaking down the greatest Halloween song of all time. No, not Monster Mash. Why would you even joke like that? Today we're talking about the Michael Jackson classic, Thriller. We all know Thriller, but did you know originally this song had a different title and lyrics? Even when they made it into the song we know and love, it was, frankly, kind of a throwaway gimmick that no one even wanted to release as a single. But the story of the song Thriller is the story of the iterative nature of creativity, and it just might change not only how you appreciate this song, but how you work on your next creative project. There's a common misconception about creativity, that it's just certain people have it and they're just incredible, and then everybody else doesn't. Often people can be labeled as a genius, and that's just the end of the story. And while some people certainly are better than others at certain things, the idea that geniuses just start something and they make it immediately and then it works well, that's just not the case most of the time. This is something I was talking with my friend Trey about recently. He's also a musician, specifically a percussionist, who also loves telling stories and looking at this often messy process of creativity. When you hear an amazing song, or watch a great movie, or experience a moving piece of art, what you're not seeing is all of the terrible first drafts that led to the thing that you love. And that's exactly why I love the Thriller 25 and 40 albums so much. These were released on the 25th and 40th anniversaries of the albums, as the names suggest, and there is a ton of interviews, demos, and songs that got cut, and then other things that show that this was not as easy as just like making a hit album. It was an iterative process, and frankly, some of the first drafts aren't, up to the standard of the completed album. Take, for example, the song Starlight. The song Starlight was written by Rod Temperton, an incredible songwriter who had worked with Michael before on Off the Wall. He's the one who wrote my favorite pop song of all time, Rock With You. But that's already a different video. Now, there are other songs that Michael and Quincy worked on during this time, like the song Carousel that got cut and never got an official release. But this song, Starlight, I think you'll recognize it. We need some starlight, starlight. I know, it's really weird to hear a bizarro alternate reality version of a song that is such a massive cultural hit. It's strange, and there are full verses, choruses, and a bridge that are completely different words from the final version of what we now know as Thriller. Musically, Starlight is cool. Obviously, this is a demo, the production is not finished, but still, Starlight doesn't, grab you. It's cool, but it's not a hit. Still, it's better than Monster Mash, but there was still work to be done. And Quincy felt the same way. He liked it, but he wanted it to sound a little more mysterious. So he asked Rod Temperton to keep working on it. One other title he considered? Midnight Man. Because it's midnight! Midnight Man. No. That's closer, but still no. They kept working and eventually arrived at Thriller. They changed the words, and the rest is history. Boom, massive hit, done. Except there was still so much more to do. That Starlight demo was exactly that, a demo. Now it was time to turn Thriller into a fully produced song. There has been so much written, spoken, and YouTubed about this song and album. You can and should sort through hours of interviews, videos of people like Greg Fillinganes or Anthony Marinelli breaking down parts and sounds from this album. Let's take a quick look at all of the intricate parts that are weaving together here. On the verse, you've got these synth pads playing these chords. But then the guitar comes in on top of that with this line. These stems are submixed, so I can't get all the way in there to individual parts, but there are multiple other parts in there. That line. And of course, all of these synth and guitar parts are sitting on top of the iconic synth bass line. This was played by Greg Fillinganes on an ARP 2600 synth, but I'm going to play it on electric bass with my octave pedal to approximate the part. Of course, there's also drums underneath all of this too, but it's just a really straightforward pattern. There's not much to explore there. It's just like kick, the snare, the hi-hat, a couple other things, I guess. But anyway, the next element after...
Wait. Did you hear that percussion part?
I'm like, you scared me, man. How did you even get in here? I guess I should introduce you. Okay, this is Trey Macias, everybody. Trey, so this drum pattern is really straightforward. I don't know what you're talking about with the percussion part.
Well, you are right. It is a pretty straightforward drum part. It's just 4 on the floor, snare on 2 and 4, and a big old fat clap on beat 4. But all of the syncopation is coming from the percussion.
You have me interested. Tell me about this.
Okay, so this beat was made using the electronic drum machines that were essentially the newest tech of the time. The Roland TR-808 and the Linn LM1 were both released 2 years before, but earlier that year, Linn released the LM2, which we call the Linn drum.
Okay, yeah, I know that one.
So what did Anthony Marinelli do? He broke it all. No, literally, he broke apart the entire drum machine so he could swap out some of the sample chips.
Okay.
He kept the Linn drum kick, but he wanted the snare and hi-hats from its predecessor, the LM1, which were thinner and brighter, but the clap from the 808. You know what? Let's hear them talk about it.
I had a friend from high school named Brad Cox, right? And he worked at Linn Drum.
Okay.
And I went there at night during Thriller, and he would burn these chips for me.
Wow.
So there's claps.
Okay.
So that's a good one that I just happened to have fall out, because those are the claps from the Linn Drum. But the claps that were on the demo sounded like TR-808. So he burned me a TR-808 chip, and I put it in here. And then we used the Linn Drum kick, here's snare. So that's LM1 snare. I had to take out the Linn Drum snare. But it was Linn Drum cowbell, and it was LM1 congas.
So this is a 23-year-old tweaking some electronics that could make, or quite literally, break the record. He said that he would work on changing these sound chips at night after the session, because if he did break the cards during the session, they would have no clap, or no cymbal, or no snare drum, and that wouldn't be good. Anyway, let me tell you about the percussion.
Let's do it.
So for the percussion, there are like 3 main parts, the most important of which is the cowbell.
The cowbell?
The cowbell. Now the cool thing about the Linn drum is that it was the first electronic drum machine that actually sampled acoustic drums. So while it is a Linn drum playing the beat, we are hearing real cowbell on top of it. Actually, why don't you play the beat?
Okay, so here's the beat, no percussion?
No percussion.
Okay.
Like you said, very simple, very straightforward. But when you add the cowbell in, you get...
Just that?
Just that. Can you do that?
I can do that, yeah.
Okay, not just that. There's another cowbell. Now, even though there are 2 cowbell parts in there, that first one you played is the one that really stands out in the mix. And in my opinion, it makes the groove.
So I'm making the groove right now.
Oh, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. There is also a conga track in there. Again, this is a Linn drum conga part. It's also quite buried in the mix along with that second cowbell. But when you put those percussion parts on top of the steady, simple drum groove, that's what gives Thriller the swing.
You know, now that you mention it, like, I don't think I can unhear it. I'm going to focus on that from now on.
That's why I'm here.
All right, well, thank you for coming on, Trey. This was actually really cool. Yeah, you can just see yourself out. I'll keep going with the rest of the video. Okay, so where was I? Right. It's an iterative process. So Rod Temperton started with Starlight. He tried Midnight Man, landed on Thriller, nailed down these parts, the sounds, the cowbell groove, and then after that, then the rest was history.
No. Hold on. I'm not trying to derail the video, but that's just not it. You're missing one important part.
Yeah, man, I'm about to get to it if you would let me finish.
Vincent Price?
Yeah, man. Okay, so
right.
Rod Temperton always envisioned a spoken word section on Starlight or Thriller, but he didn't know quite what to do with it. So that's when Quincy's wife at the time, Peggy Lipton, suggested that they call up her friend, horror legend Vincent Price. On the Thriller 25 album, there's a great story from Rod Temperton about this Vincent Price section. Originally, the idea was to have him come record just general horror stuff and just kind of talk creepy. But the night before the session, Quincy called Rod and asked him to write something up. So Rod says yeah, and he plans on doing it in the morning. Of course, the next morning, the day of the session, does not go the way that he's planned. He has a meeting that he forgot about, and then Quincy calls at noon like, "Hey man, you good? You got that verse? Because the session's at 2. Rod's like, "Yeah, I'm good," even though he has not written anything. So he frantically jots down 3 verses on the way to the studio and manages to get it on the music stand just as Vincent Price is walking into the studio. It's a nice touch to have Vincent Price on the outro of this song. I personally don't really know much about his movies. I know him primarily from this song, actually, but even still...
Let me just stop you right there, Bishaw.
Trey, what? Where are you?
I'm standing on the Warner Brothers studio lot here in Burbank, California, in front of the exact spot Vincent Price filmed one of his most well-known horror movies, 1953's House of Wax.
What are you, like a field correspondent now? I don't think we have the technology available to do this.
Yes, sir. House of Wax was Hollywood's first movie in 3D, surround sound, and full color picture. So it's fitting that Vincent Price, who was at the forefront of such a technological advancement in the film industry, would already be involved in such a monumental song here as well.
Yeah, that's actually a great point, but okay, Trey, get back here. I actually have an idea now of how to wrap up this video. I think it could be fun.
You got it. From Digging the Greats, I'm Trey Macias. Back to you, Brandon.
That's not a thing. That's not what we're doing. Okay, so as you can see, the creative process is an iterative thing. They started with Starlight, that evolved into Thriller, which filled out with all of this incredible production, and then the cherry on top is Vincent Price. After adding that, the song was complete. It was a massive hit, and the rest is history.
Well, not quite.
Oh my god, dude, how did you get back here so fast?
You see, the problem is, no one really thought much of the song. It was a weird novelty that, while it was the name of the album, it wasn't initially released as a single. The head of CBS even said, quote, "Who wants a single about monsters?"
Oh, well, yeah, because Monster Mash had been out for, I don't know, like 20 years. Everyone knew it was a terrible song.
What do you have against Monster Mash?
It's just a weird song, and I don't understand why anyone likes it.
Anyway, when the album Thriller was released, it sold great, and there were many singles released, but eventually sales started slumping, and Michael was obsessed with album sales. So to boost that back up, the song Thriller was eventually released as a single, the 7th and final single from this album.
Wow, that is an insane number of singles. Okay, so then after that, the rest was history.
No, still no. Okay, so to get the album sales up with the release of this single, they went over the top with this incredible music video, which at over 13 minutes long, is now incredibly famous.
Right, and then during the editing process, Michael was so worried about how it would be received, he ordered the editors to destroy the film because he was a practicing Jehovah's Witness. He was literally sick over the release of this music video.
Yeah, he locked himself in his room for days, refusing to come out because he was so worried about this. Of course, the footage was not destroyed, and instead they added a disclaimer at the beginning of the music video, which, by the way, Brandon, I didn't see a disclaimer at the beginning of this video.
I felt like I didn't need to add one, but...
Okay, hold on.
It's just crazy that after this long process of writing the song, changing the words, producing it, adding, yes, the cowbell groove, bringing in Vincent Price, the label not wanting to release it as a single, they shoot a monumental music video, even right up to the release. Michael did not feel good about it and wanted it destroyed.
Yeah, man, this is what we're talking about. Creativity is a messy process, and so-called geniuses are usually just the people who keep going and keep trying to find that diamond in the rough.
So once Thriller was released as a single, this reignited album sales. And by the end of 1984, they'd sold over 33 million copies, which today has topped over 67 million copies, cementing it as the best-selling album of all time.
And the rest is history.
That's my line, man. Come on.
There's indication this woman keeps standing around. Across the nation, there's always people trying to pull you down. Now it's the time for us to spend this evening together. Deep in the night, we're holding on to someone else's dream. You can't see.
He did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in flash. He did the monster mash.
Get out of here, man. No, stop. Some people have called out the bass line of Thriller as being very similar to Give It To Me Baby by Rick James. This is not the first time that people have noticed similarities between Michael's music and other songs. But there's another song on this album, PYT, which has an eerily similar bass line to another song. And it turns out there's a pretty big reason for that. They were worked on by the same person. But for that story, you gotta click here.